And we're talking about the Euros. England annihilated Norway last night. I'm delighted to say Seana Cooke is with us. Good morning to you. How are you getting on?
Hey, how are you?
England's performance last night was probably not unexpected in terms of them being very good, but the absolute margin of victory sets a record for them in the Euros and sends a signal out to the rest of Europe that this team is the favourites for the competition. Is that fair?
Yeah, definitely. I think after their first game, they looked a little bit edgy, which was expected. I mean, big crowd, first game after, a huge marketing campaign and all eyes on them. And I think they had to come into this game and really settle down, or they'd kind of be left wide open for other teams for a few shots at them. But I just thought the first minute that they looked like they wanted to draw blood, and they were willing to kind of say to Norway, we're going to keep going for 90 plus minutes and not stop. And I mean, the penalty obviously was never a penalty, but it set the tone for the game, because once they scored that, then it was, the gates were wide open. And yeah, for me, it was a really big shock. I thought England might pip the game, but I didn't think it'd be by that scoreline.
So Norway are pretty good. Like, I think everybody expected a tight game, a proper test for England. Why did they fall apart?
Well, I mean, this goes back to the Euro 2017. They had an absolute abysmal tournament in 2017. They were pretty much one of the favourites. They lost the 3 group games, and after that there was kind of a whole, I suppose, that they came out to talk to the media about how they were going to, really put things right, how they were going to go from strength to strength, and it was under the same manager. So there was an expectation that just wouldn't happen again after 2017. And then this time around, the players that they have, like the likes of Hegerberg, Engen, Caroline Graham Hansen, I think there was high expectation. But for me, England had this really good high press. They had Ellen White backed up by 4 players behind her, and they just weren't allowing Norway to play out. What surprised me most was kind of after the third goal, Thor's daughter, she'd made a few mistakes, and that's been her pattern even through the season with United. So I thought she'd be taken off at half time. I was expected to knock out after half time. But even after the third goal, there was nothing from the management or even those senior players on the pitch to go, do you know what, let's stop trying to play out back. Let's just, get a solid bank of 5 and 4 for a few minutes, see out this first half. But they kept trying to do the same thing over and over again, which I suppose is the method of insanity. So I just thought, they crumbled after the second goal, and there was no coming back from that.
Okay, so that's them, I presume, done in this tournament, and they're not going to be live candidates, because obviously they had a win already, so it's not impossible that they qualify and maybe, make some kind of recovery from this. But if you were to loosely give us a power rankings of who might stop England at this point, very early, very, very early doors for us to be talking like that, I know.
For me...
Go on, yeah.
Yeah, for me, it would either be at this point, the ones I could see stopping Germany are France or Germany.
And what about France and Germany have impressed you?
France, as everyone says, Wendy Reinhardt's France. She's a powerhouse at the back. There was a lot of controversy, the players they left out before the tournament, the likes of Henry, but the manager took some, I suppose, wild cards, and it's paid off. The football they play, they're really going for fluid football, and they've a really strong attack similar to England. So, and I think the battles between England and France are always there. And Germany, they're the most crowned team in this competition. They're physically strong. They dominate opposition. They're ruthless. The only thing for Germany is they've got a few COVID cases, so have they got the strength and depth? I think we'll see that this week.
It's interesting you talk about that group as well, because so obviously England are going to top their group at this stage, but it's the runners-up from the group between Germany and Spain who they'll play in the next round. Is that right?
Yeah. So I think that would potentially be either Spain or is the other one Sweden, I think. Is it?
I would have said, I thought, yeah.
No, sorry, Italy. It is, Italy, Iceland, is it? I think. Is it that group?
I'm actually not sure.
Finland, that's it. Yeah, Finland. So it'll be the likely big two out of that group will be Germany and Spain.
All right. At this stage, I mean, obviously you're going to make England favourites. Beth Mead, I think, was one of your pre-tournament expectations to end up with the Golden Boot. She's come roaring back into the squad, maybe with a bit of a point to prove. And I don't know, this goes to a point that was made earlier on in the show. It looks like England have a competent, coherent management structure in place, and that might be one of the reasons why they were seeing such an improvement from them.
Yeah, definitely. Like Seana Cooke, I mean, what she done with the Netherlands a couple of years ago in the 2007 Euros, come in 6 months before that tournament.
Oh, we've just lost our line to Seana Cooke there. It's 2012 to Ireland, 56 minutes gone at this stage. The Māori All Blacks had a good portion of pressure in the immediate aftermath of the penalty try that Ireland conceded, but they were unable to make it count and have just made a couple of handling errors which have given Ireland the opportunity to get back in the game and just ease a little bit of the pressure that they felt. So there's 56 minutes gone, Ireland leading the Māori All Blacks by 20 points to 12, and we're going to have full-time analysis and reaction from Keith Wood. I think we've got Seana Cooke back. Seana, good morning to you. You're back there. Sorry, we were just talking about the management structure that they have and how better it is now than it was when it was Phil Neville.
Yeah, definitely. The Seana has come in and she's really changed things around. She's. I think the word that's going around a lot of the England players are saying is she sets standards and she puts a level of organisation in place that they haven't seen before. The one thing I was impressed with was at the end of the game how she was telling them all to calm down, which is something we're not used to seeing with England. They tend to kind of run with things and start to get their head in the clouds very early. So I was very impressed with her after the game. She never gets too excited either.
I mean, like an England team winning a home tournament is obviously something that nearly happened recently enough for the men. But you can see how big and important it would be for the game in England. You know, there would be a knock-on impact for the WSL if England were to win this.
Yeah, 100%. Even, I mean, all the marketing and media attention that went into the tournament beforehand, like they were obviously lighting up landmarks with players on them. It was incredible. And it would be fantastic for the WSL. I think if England win the tournament, they'll just be our insufferable neighbours for a couple of years.
Speaking of neighbours, Northern Ireland, 2 games, 2 defeats. Is this pretty much the level that we expected them to be at, or should they have had slightly higher expectations?
No, I don't think so. It was their first tournament. I think Kenny Shields, kind of, in fairness to him, has set them up to play. He spoke about he didn't want them just to be a number in the competition. He wanted them to go out and give it a go. I think they can come away with their heads held high. They've tried to give it a go. They haven't just sat back and defended for 290 minutes. Their work rate has been impressive. There's been players standing out. The likes of Demi Vance has been playing really, really well. They just got a really difficult group, and that didn't help. But I'm sure they'll learn from this and bounce on from it.
Okay. Anything else stand out so far?
For me, I think Portugal would be a team to watch. They nearly caused an upset against Switzerland. They got the draw, which was unexpected, and I think they have it in their locker to cause an upset or two. So I'd recommend viewers to watch the Netherlands-Portugal game tomorrow evening at 8 p.m.
Okay, tonight the game between Germany and Spain also worth watching. That one also kicks off at 8 o'clock.
Yeah, definitely. Two powerhouses, two very different styles, and I think the likes of Germany's Lena Magul and Spain's Bonatti are just brilliant players and really worth a watch.
Okay, you had a couple of other names apart from Beth Mead who you think are going to potentially be the Golden Boot. Leah Schuler?
Yeah, Schuler, yeah.
Yeah, and Caroline Graham-Hansen.
Yeah. I mean, I chose Caroline Graham-Hansen before last night. She's playing in the number 10 for Norway, which is something we haven't seen her playing before. She plays out wide left for Barcelona. But I think in the 10, she finds, before last night, she was finding a lot of space. So she's my wild card. And Schuler, I think she was the Bundesliga top goal scorer And yeah, I think she'll shine. The only thing is she's now out with COVID, so it's how quickly they can get her back into the squad.
Right, okay, so that's probably going to end up ruling her out of that. And Beth Mead's got a bit of a head start now after that as well, so it'd be tricky for anybody to catch her. So your finalists at this stage, England, are we guaranteed? Are we writing them in pen at the moment? Do we think they're going to go all the way to the final?
Yeah, I think so. I just think from last night what they showed is they're ruthless. And even the players that they brought on, there was no lull in performance. Sometimes when a manager makes some changes, that can kind of impact the performance. But I think they're just looking too strong at the moment to drop out before the final.
And versus who in the final?
I'm going to go with Germany. And then I have France as a backup to save any red faces I get. But I think Germany, they're a team that tends to, they don't peak too early. They go from strength to strength as the tournament goes on. And as I said, they're experienced. They're experienced nation in this competition. So the pressure's on that bunch of players from a German perspective to go and do the business.
All right, Seana, good stuff. Thanks a million for joining us this morning. Cheers.
Thank you.
It's Seana Cooke there giving us her thoughts on the Euros so far. We'll obviously keep you up to date with the rest of the tournament, and you've got to tune into Koi Gig, which you can get on the OTB football feed on our podcast network. You just subscribe to OTB Football and Koi Gig will arrive, though you could also just subscribe to the Koi Gig pod in its own feed as well. Now,